Hey, you guys, and good morning. It's Wednesday, February 28th, and I think we have 29 days in this Black History Month, and yeah, we're going to take all of them. So, shout out to the ancestors and all those who came before us, whose shoulders we stand on. I wanted to talk to you guys today about what's been going on, and I thought, normally I don't get into the kind of like trending topics, but I thought this was interesting because they both revolve around the music business and about icons in our community as African Americans and Black people, whom we're like, wow, look what they're doing, and oh my God, what's going on? And I think there were two lessons here, so I wanted to kind of talk about it, and I want to show you guys some clips, so kind of you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So let me first just set the stage here. As we know that Kanye is a phenomenal artist. Say what you want about the brother, on what he's doing, and his things he's created, and his Yeezys that kind of like trash bags and stuff like that. But he's really, really creative. And I know people say when his mom passed that was kind of when Kanye went off the rails, right? But you can't ignore his genius and his creative talent. Thank you so much, my producer here helping me on the side. So, but it's almost like we have to play in these circles. And I thought this was really interesting because what Kanye is doing, he's doing something which is not new, but direct to consumer. And in our business, in our media business, we usually do B2B, direct to business, but we also do some D2C, direct to consumer as well from our different offerings. And I thought this is interesting because musical artists do a lot of Spotify, iTunes, CD Baby, and like there's so many different platforms out there. But Kanye, of course, being Kanye, he was like, nah, right? And at first he was playing in by the rules, but of course so let me just go back. Basically, he dropped an album, and his distributor, Fugwa, I believe it was like, we're going to put a hold on that right now. We're not going to let that out for whatever reason. And Kanye was like, oh, okay. And my dog in the back shot, get out of here. You can't get get out of here. Anyway, so just excuse it. He always seems to do it. I kid you not. Every time I go live, that dog in particular, finds a way to get in the back shot and be seen. I think he was an actor in another life. Anyway, so he is a distributor, put his album on hold. He said no. He created a Spotify and iTunes account for himself and uploaded his music, and that's where the drama started. So I want you guys to take a look at this video.
Everything that they did only helped us. I like it. Remove us. I like simplification. Streaming platforms is bullshit to the artists anyway.
Meek Mill says, we about to go direct to consumer with this music shit. What happened? I thought everything was good with streaming. How did we get here? I was doing a lot of research in real time about everything going on with these distributors, like TuneCore and DistroKid, and the DSPs, specifically Spotify. And as you know, I removed my music from streaming and I decided to do something called direct to consumer.
Kanye West is done begging Hollywood for help. He's taking matters into his own hands, people.
Y'all, they really don't want to see Kanye win on any level. Have y'all seen the news today? Whoever he upsets at the top is not holding back one bit. So remember we talked about his new album coming out and being #1 in 72 countries? Yeah. Well, guess what? Apple Music and iTunes they hit the delete button, y'all.
Oh, that's bad.
They hit the delete button and his album has been removed from their platform. But let's be real. If he could make #1 in 72 countries in a day, I wouldn't be surprised if he created his own streaming platform to listen to his music.
He's decided to open up his own very streaming site.
Streaming platforms removed you. We're #1. You know, everything that they did only helped us. I like it. Remove us. I like simplification. Streaming platforms is bullshit to the artists anyway. Spotify would give us $500 million between all of us and say, work it about amongst yourselves. I'm like, what about Adele? What about Taylor Swift? What about me? They like, no. Doesn't matter how much any of y'all stream. Y'all got to work that $500 million. $500 million? That's what streaming companies think of us?
Think about this for a second, what he is saying. Think about it.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
This $500 million thrown into a pot is split up amongst the top of the top artists that get to eat the most from that pie. And then it just kind of trickles down to everyone else that represents different tiers of that pie or different slices of that pie. Isn't it so interesting that they have the money to pay a Joe Rogan $250 million, which is half of the whole, that artists who are part of the foundation of what built Spotify up are having to split? It's not nasty work to you?
Musicians and all the label owners just hand it over. We ain't on that, bro. As long as I breathe, I'm here for all of my artists, all of my peers, and all the people.
That's right, he's taking control of his music destiny. What on earth triggered this decision? Well, let's dive in and find out. So Kanye's album was initially put on Apple Music for all to enjoy, but just 5 days after its debut, it was yanked back.
So Kanye was like, okay, bet you can just go to whatever, Yeezy.com or Kanye, and I'll just sell you my stuff directly, direct to the consumer. So you got to think about it. Excuse me. If Apple, Spotify, and all these other places don't have the artists that people are looking for, his album hit #1 in 24 hours. He was on the platforms for 3 days, and then they pulled it off. So his album is still what people want to hear. And if he goes, great. So if you go to Spotify or you go to Apple Music and you go, hey, I'm looking for Kanye and they ain't got it, but you can go over here to his website and get it, why you want to go to Spotify and pay the monthly fee? Why would you pay Apple the monthly fee? You know what I'm saying? And then they got to go, wow, we're losing this artist. And then other artists go, wait a minute, why am I paying you? I'm paying you because supposedly you have people coming to you. But if people are not coming to you because you don't have the artists that they want to see, what value do you have? Right? So something's about to switch. And I think it's been switching. Back in the day, you remember you had MC Hammer, Too Short, and multiple artists selling out the trunk of their cars direct to consumer. But they were only able to do in their local market because if you're selling your stuff at the trunk of your car in Oakland, hey, you can't sell somebody in Hayward or Union City or Los Angeles or New York because it's your local market. But you can sell direct to consumer in all those markets from your website. And then the money becomes yours. You don't have to pay a distribution company and then take a percentage of your work. As I've always been saying, if you sit at someone else's table, you can't be upset at what they serve you. That's why we created this network. Really it is. Because we were tired, Lord, excuse me, we were tired of not being able to put the creatives and not being able to put the content and not being able to put the artists and the singers and the actors on platforms that we wanted to showcase them in a better light. Put them on here, they might say something, and then YouTube, or whatever it is, takes them off. It's their platform. They can do whatever the hell they want to do. I get it. But guess what? This is our platform. We pay a fee to Roku, to Apple, to Android, to Amazon, to Google, and all the different app stores. We pay a licensing fee to put stuff on there. We give them the money. They showcase what we want to do. You know what I'm saying? They don't get a percentage. Here's your money. We're going to do what we want to do. It's a different dynamic. We can run our ads because we've already paid them for the access. It's a different dynamic. Take control of what's yours. If you don't, you'll be forever asking somebody, please, may I have another? And with your hand out. And when they just suck your hand down, what you going to do? Because you put your future in their hands. Okay. With that being said, I hope that all the artists, everything, especially musical artists, look into doing your own thing. Create your own pipeline. Take control. And ain't nothing the matter. I'm saying ain't nothing the matter with having yourself. Those platforms still have millions of people coming to visit them. But have another way to get your music out there. And I don't know, I'm not a musical artist, but if you have your artists, your stuff on iTunes and Spotify and all those things, can't you also still be selling direct to consumer on your website? Because sometimes you put it on Spotify, if people don't know how to search for you, you're not popping up. Now, granted, we do have a licensing, we do pay Apple, iTunes, and things like that to put on there. So we put stuff on our network, our podcast shows, they do pop up higher because we're paying for that. That's the way it works. You got to pay for that access. But if you have this stuff, I'm just going back and saying, if you're doing that and you're taking a percentage of your stuff, that's fine. That's okay. But still put something where you can control the distribution manually, where you can capture those people's email addresses and market to them about upcoming shows, about upcoming albums, about your merchandise. Control. Take control. It's so important. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox on that, and now I want to switch and talk about Jam Master Jay. Now, we all know Jam Master Jay was killed years ago in a really terrible thing in his music studio. He was killed, and nobody knew what was going on, and nobody was talking, and it was just announced that his inner circle killed him. Ninja, what? You know that old saying, was it the Godfather? Keep your enemies close. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. In this case, I guess that's good because his friends was the one that was meaning to do him harm. It wasn't his enemies that came after him. But take a look at this news report, man. I was like, are you serious?
Breaking news at 4 o'clock, a guilty verdict just handed up in the Jam Master Jay murder trial. I'm David Ushery.
I'm Natalie Pasquarella. News 4's Erica Byfield live outside a court in Lower Manhattan with these breaking details. Erica.
That's right, Natalie. There are actually two defendants in this case. Both of them were found guilty on the two counts that are in this case. One of them related to a drug conspiracy charge and murder. The other one related to a weapons charge in addition to that murder. The person they are accused of murdering is Jam Master Jay. He is the prolific hip-hop DJ associated with the group Run DMC. Tell you this trial lasted about a month or so. There were some fireworks actually after this verdict was read inside the courtroom today. This happened today around 3:30 this afternoon. One of the defendants jumped up and he said, "Y'all just killed some innocent people," and then he shouted, "Get me out of here." As he was being escorted out of the courtroom, the other co-defendant in this case, he yelled out, "I love y'all," addressing his family that was there in the courtroom. And then we heard many of his family members start yelling things back, like the jury didn't listen to the facts in this case. A woman yelled out, "That's my son." We started hearing, "Don't touch me." You all know he didn't do that. That is when the U.S. Marshals swooped in. There was some pushing, there was a little bit of shoving, and then they escorted all of those family members out of the courtroom. So it was kind of chaotic there at the very end. But again, this case revolves around the murder of Jam Master Jay. He was killed in October of 2002. He was actually in his Queens recording studio at the time. For years, the two eyewitnesses to this crime, they refused to say what they saw. Both Lydia High and Tony Rincon testified, though, at this trial. They told the jurors that they saw two gunmen that night. They say that Jam Master Jay's godson, Carl Jordan Jr., pulled the trigger, and Jay's good friend, childhood buddy, Ronald Washington, was the one at the door with another gun. High and Rincon's testimony obviously must have been quite an impact here on this jury. They said for a long time they didn't speak up and say what they knew at the time because they were scared, they were afraid for their lives. The federal prosecutors in this case ultimately charged three people in addition to Jordan and Washington. They charged a third man who's going to be tried separately. That person was also there at the scene, but they say he was just a decoy that night so that Jordan and Washington could slip inside that recording studio and kill Jam Master Jay. The prosecutor said all along they think the motive for this was greed and revenge because Mizell, that is Jam Master Jay's real name, Jason Mizell, cut Jordan and Washington out of a drug deal. So again, this jury made this decision, and just a short time ago, and actually right now, maybe it just wrapped up seconds ago, a family member of Jam Master Jay was here and he was speaking to the media. Here's what he told us.
Jason himself was an amazing talent. Life ended far too soon. and I'm just glad that justice was served. Mr. Tom.
So a few things here. Jam Master Jay's inner circle, his godson is the one that pulled the trigger, killed his godfather. And his very close childhood friend was the one that was in there at the door with another gun in case the godson, I guess, got cold feet or somebody else popped off, he could get them. And it was another dude that was, so it was three people that knew him that set him up. Now he said the reason wasn't because of, which sometimes happens, they're jealous, oh, he's going to do this. It was because of a drug deal that they were cut out of. They say that as the group Run DMC had the things that started to fade in popularity, Jam Master Jay, he needed money. He started selling drugs, and I guess what particular deal, these people were cut out of the deal, and so they killed him because of it. And then, of course, I was watching another clip where they had still Run DMC, Jam Master Jay, and they were doing just say no to drugs, right? I'm not here to say, oh my God, he was doing drugs. That's what happens like that. However, what I will take the lesson, we're going to use this as a lesson is he had to resort to selling drugs. Why? Because he wasn't having any money from what he used to do. So probably the residuals, whatever it was going to Run, and I heard that maybe DMC was going to get in. It was probably like Run, or we don't know what the deal was, but whatever it was, he had to resort to selling drugs because he needed to maintain, not just looks like he wasn't an opulent lifestyle. He had a recording studio. Who knows? He paying rent on that. He probably didn't own the building. This goes back to what I'm talking about. If you have stuff out there and you're doing intellectual property, you're doing your product, and you're singing, you're making beats, you're doing whatever it is, make sure you control it. Jam Master Jay, and of course, back in the 80s, I remember growing up and everything, I'm in high school and everything, we weren't thinking long term. This already goes back to, you got artists in the 50s who didn't have their masters. They didn't own their masters. So they weren't getting residuals, and they were having millions of records sold, and they dying broke. You're hearing like, oh, so-and-so dying broke here, and that is on drugs, because they couldn't control the products that they created. Now, back in the 80s, we didn't have the internet. Yeah, I'm 20 age. We didn't have the internet. So we didn't know about branding and things like that. But we do know, and I should have probably included that clip, how Run DMC really helped Adidas spike through the roof when it came to sales with that one song, My Adidas, right? And I said it to say is, looking back now, it's always easy to look back and say, well, it should have been done. But it was too bad that Jam Master Jay didn't have somebody in his circle to say, look, man, you got this studio, and you, Jam Master Jay, you need to be doing some merchandising. Let's start, creating mugs. Let's start creating merchandise with your name on it. Legendary, Jam Master Jay. Let's start you doing like Tiny Desk or something like that. Like a lot of other artists who were popular back in the 80s and 90s have done Tiny Desk concerts to re-emerge and reinvigorate that fan base. He didn't have people around him telling him that, I'm assuming, because he had to start selling drugs to bring in money. This is just another example of you've got to take control of your product. Whether you are a playwright, copyright your material. Because you never know when somebody be like, that's a really good thing, and take your idea, change a few things, and now you see your play on TV and on Broadway, and you're like, that was mine. If you're a singer, songwriter, protect yourself. And don't just be about, I'm going to write a song and hopefully it gets a hit. No, merchandise your song, promote yourself. Always say, if you don't pat yourself on the back, who's going to? Okay? Get out there. And if you have any questions, of course, we at On Stage Plus are here to help you. Yes, we do have a brand platform we're going to be launching, but I'm not saying nothing about that yet because hopefully we'll be having it ready by Friday, and we'll be making that announcement to show how we're also helping artists to take control and make money. Because, to quote a thing in Will Smith's biography, ain't nothing worse than being famous and broke. There was a time when he was actually, I think he'd done the Fresh Prince, and something happened with the IRS or something, and he was on the bus, and this lady was like, did I see you on TV? And he said, yeah, that was me. That's a terrible feeling, right? So make sure you have the ability. We all have the ability now to reach millions of people, right? I mean, we were pulling the ratings on the 1st of February, and we're in 65 countries, and we're on 4 continents, right? We got to monetize that. We're not millionaires yet, right? But it would be our shame if we didn't monetize that and not just being on TV. Because being on TV is one thing, being seen, that's great. But what's next? I could throw a rock and hit 1,000 streaming platforms. I know like at least 5 people that have streaming networks. So? Oh, you on TV. So? What's next? If you don't disrupt, you will get disrupted. That's what we created the platform, because I was like, okay, people that are on our platform, great, you're on TV. What you going to do with that exposure? Here's what you can do to make some money. So I'm going to be announcing that on Friday. But to all you guys, think about that. Get a plan of action. Don't just be content with making music. Don't just be content with singing. Merchandise. Create your brand. Expand your brand. It's important, and you control your product. Because if you don't, someone else will. That's all I got to say about that. Thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in. I'll be talking to you guys soon. And if you have any questions, please put them in my comments, and I will answer each one. And if I don't know the answer, I guarantee you I can ask somebody who does. All right? I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.